The Krell had ruled the outer reaches for 3,000 years. Their empire stretched across 47 star systems, built on the bones of countless species who had dared to resist. They were apex predators, 8 feet of chitinous armor, razor-sharp talons, and a hunting instinct honed by millions of years of evolution on a death world where only the strongest survived to see dawn. So when humanity refused to surrender their mining colony on Kepler-4 for to be, the Krell did what they always did. They sent a hunter. Evelyn Shen had been working a double shift in the processing facility when the alarms began to wail. She was 26, slight of build, with oil-stained hands and dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights, keeping the refinery operational. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't even particularly brave. She was just an engineer who wanted to finish her contract and go home. The evacuation shuttles launched within minutes. Packed with screaming colonists, Evelyn ran for the last transport, her boots pounding against metal grating, her breath burning in her lungs. She could see it 50 meters away, engines already glowing hot. Then the ceiling exploded. The hunter descended through a rain of debris and fire, landing with such force that the deck plates buckled. It was magnificent and terrible, its exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian, its four eyes burning with predatory intelligence. The Krell had sent their finest, a creature that had personally executed the leadership of 6 rebellious worlds. The shuttle lifted off without her. Evelyn stumbled backward, her hand instinctively reaching for the plasma cutter on her belt, a tool, not a weapon. The hunter's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. It had killed trained soldiers, seasoned warriors who had faced death without flinching. This terrified human would be over in seconds. It charged. What happened next would be studied by xenobiologists for decades. Evelyn didn't run. Running triggered the chase instinct she'd read that somewhere, in some half-remembered file about predator species. Instead, she did something the hunter had never encountered in 300 kills. She walked toward it. Her hand moved with the practiced precision of someone who'd spent 10 years working with industrial equipment in zero-gravity environments. The plasma cutter ignited, its beam white-hot, and she slashed upward in a single fluid motion, not wild, not panicked, but with the exact same movement she used to cut through reinforced hull plating. The beam caught the hunter across its primary eyes. It shrieked a sound that shattered every window in the facility and reeled backward. But Evelyn was already moving, not away, closer. That was the thing about humans that the galaxy never quite understood. They weren't the fastest, they weren't the strongest, but they had spent 100,000 years learning to kill things bigger and more dangerous than themselves, and those instincts ran deep. The hunter swung wildly, its talons carving through a support beam like paper. Evelyn ducked, rolled, came up behind it. The plasma cutter screamed through the air, severing one of its rear legs. The creature collapsed, ichor spraying across the floor. It tried to turn to fight, but Evelyn was relentless. She'd spent her entire adult life in environments that could kill her in 1,000 different ways: explosive decompression, radiation leaks, reactor meltdowns. She'd learned to think 3 steps ahead, to never panic, to treat every crisis as just another problem to solve. The hunter was just a problem. She cut through its secondary arms, disabled its weapon glands, avoided its acidic blood with the same casual competence she used to avoid coolant leaks, and when it finally lay broken on the deck, unable to move, unable to flee, she stood over it with the plasma cutter humming in her hand. The hunter looked up at her with its remaining eyes, and for the first time in its long, violent life, it felt something it had never felt before. Fear, not the simple fear of pain. It had endured pain in its trials. Not even the fear of death. It had always known death would come eventually. This was something deeper, something that reached into the very foundation of what it was. It was the fear of being prey. Its mandibles trembled. A high-pitched keen escaped its throat, the Krell distress call, reserved for juveniles who had lost their clutch mothers. It pressed its head against the deck in the ancient submission posture, the one given only to dominant pack leaders. It begged. Evelyn stared down at the creature that had been sent to kill her, this perfect predator now whimpering at her feet, and she felt nothing but exhaustion. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was calm. She looked like someone who had just finished a particularly difficult repair job. "Stay down," she said quietly. The hunter obeyed. When the Colonial Defense Forces arrived 3 hours later, they found Evelyn sitting on a cargo container, drinking reconstituted coffee from a dented mug. The hunter lay motionless nearby, still alive, still terrified, refusing to move. The soldiers couldn't believe it. The reports went up the chain of command, flagged as false or exaggerated. But the security footage didn't lie. One human. No military training. Armed with a tool, the Krell recalled their fleets within a week. They'd conquered 47 star systems, defeated species with particle weapons and genetic enhancement and psionic abilities. But they understood predation, understood the hierarchy of the hunt, and they recognized what they saw in that footage. Humans weren't prey. Humans were what apex predators had nightmares about. 6 months later, Evelyn was back at work in the refinery, her shift schedule unchanged. She'd declined 17 interview requests for book deals and a commission in the Colonial Marines. She just wanted to do her job. But in the Krell Empire, in their spawning pools and war chambers, they whispered a new word, Chen, and their hunters, their perfect killers, refused deployment to human space. They had learned what every predator learns eventually. There's always something higher on the food chain, and humanity had been climbing that chain for a very, very long time.